righty then. Welcome back to the show. Welcome to Talking Philly Sports with Matty B here on the Edge of Philly Sports Network with your boy Matty B. It is Tuesday, October the 4th. It is 9 p.m. and you're watching EOP. So guess what? That means you're with me. I did it all in one breath. You should be impressed. I think I was. Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to another fun-filled episode of the show on a busy Sports Tuesday night here in the Delaware Valley. As we are a happy city today. That's right. The Philadelphia Eagles 4-0 for the first time since 2004. Of course, that was the Super Bowl 39 year. And the Philadelphia Phillies last night, by a virtue of a 3-0 victory over the Houston Astros, clinching their first playoff berth in 11 seasons since 2011. And as I will kind of let some of the dust settle from that event last night, and for those of you who did not catch the Fight and Final last night, shame on you. But for those of you who did, good job. But it was great to talk this thing over with Big Al and Freddie Burns. And we discussed a lot of the feelings, I guess, that a lot of people might be having on this day or last night as the Phillies got back to the playoffs for the first time in a generation. And yes, it's exactly what it was, a generation, man. I mean, a whole generation of kid grew up in non-playoff related baseball here in Philadelphia, and that sucks, that really does. And I'm sorry that happened to you, but I hope that you, especially out there who have never experienced Philadelphia Philly baseball in the playoffs, are appreciative of what exactly did happen last night. And of course, as we get closer to the actual wild card round on Friday, we don't even know who we're going to play yet. They're getting their butts handed to them right now in Houston. But, some things still have to be settled in the standings. But we'll definitely get more into the Phillies here a little bit later on the show. But, folks, let's get things going like we do every week here on this program, and that is talking about what happened on this day in Philadelphia sports history. Folks, there's a lot of things that did happen on this day, but nothing really that sexy. And not that the one I'm going to give you is a sexy choice, but I'm going to go with this one. This actually happened tomorrow on October the 5th. Back in 1988, the Eagles would trade their first-round draft pick to the Indianapolis Colts for offensive guard Ron Salt. You guys remember Ron Salt? I remember Ron Salt. He was the man. He was supposed to come in here and stabilize that offensive line. Buddy Ryan was a lot of great things. He was a good drafter. He was. He did draft well. But boy, he couldn't make a trade to save his damn life. They traded Ron Salt, who was a Pro Bowler in 1987. And he was brought in here to be the stabilizing anchor force on that offensive line as the Eagles were attempting to build an offense around a very stout Buddy Ryan-led defense. But he played 2 quarters for the Eagles before missing the rest of the season with a knee injury. And then that would be it. Ron Salt would be out of the league 4 years after that. I think he did come back in 89 for a little bit. But that first-round pick, you might ask, who was that? Well, I'm about to tell you that. The first-round pick that the Eagles sent to the Indianapolis Colts for Ron Salt would end up being Andre Rison, wide receiver. Remember Bad Moon Rison of Atlanta Falcon fame? He dated the TLC girl thing, burning the house down and all that. Yes. Can you imagine Andre Bad Moon Rison playing here in town with Andre Dirty Waters? Man, that would have been something else, man. Talk about a football team with an edge and a chip on their shoulders. But it was not meant to be, as the Eagles would trade that first-round pick to the Colts for Ron Salt. But anyway, that's what happened on this, or actually tomorrow, October 5th, in 1988, in this day in Philadelphia sports history. And whew, that's a lot. That is a lot to get off my chest, but it's off. And now let's move on to the next greatest thing. We have a big show tonight, folks. We're going to get into some Eagles Commanders, where then we're going to clear the path and we're going to turn the page and get ready for week 5. Eagles Cardinals. Alex Clancy of the Locked On Cardinals is going to join me at around the 9:20 hour. And we're going to kind of cut the game up a little bit, talk about some of the happenings that's going on down there in Arizona. What should we expect from the Cardinals? Is there some, are the Cardinals fearing the Philadelphia Eagles? Are the Arizona Cardinal fans, whoever they are they fearing the Philadelphia Eagles? I mean, how are we being perceived in the national media, especially down there in the hotbed football town of Scottsdale, Arizona, and all that? So Alex Clancy will be joining me here around 9:20, and we're going to talk that. But before Alex Clancy comes on, it's time for me to kind of get into the yesterday's or Monday's game. 24 I'm sorry, I was still stuck on the Commanders game. 29-21, Eagles over the Jaguars on Sunday in a game that featured a lot of stuff. But the one thing it didn't feature, the one thing heading into the game that was kind of overlooked by both squads was the weather. The weather factor was a huge, huge thing on Sunday. It was the game. It was the 11th man, so to speak. It was 12th man, whatever you want to call it. It was the X factor. And neither team went into the game prepared for it. The difference in this game, folks, the difference of why the Eagles won is because the Eagles adjusted to it. The Eagles accepted the reality of the rain and the muck and the mud, altered their attack to more of a balanced ground attack, and took advantage of that from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who did not adjust. If you take a look at the Eagles and their offensive possessions, they heavily favored the ground game as the game wore on, whereas the Jaguars continued to attempt to put the ball down the field, even after only trailing by 6 points at one point in the game. They still were trying to attack the game or attack the Eagles like it was 75 degrees and sunny, whereas the Eagles and Miles Sanders, who had himself a hell of a day on Sunday, one of those days that you look back to and say, you know what, this is what gets you a contract, Miles Sanders, 15-yard, or he carried the ball. He had himself a really, really good day. Kind of led the way for the Eagles. Absolutely led the way for the Eagles in that game, and was really the unsung hero. The unsung hero, 27 carries, 134 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Folks, without Miles, that was the difference of the game. That was the difference of the game, offensively for the Eagles at least. Now, the difference from the game in the on the defensive side of things for the Philadelphia Eagles was, again, the ball hawking. When did this happen? When did this stuff start coming down? The Eagles, 5 more turnovers on Sunday. 5! 10 now through 4 games. It's amazing. Absolutely, absolutely amazing. Again, taking advantage of the weather, using the weather as their ally. Their arms were out. They were going after that ball. Now, the Jaguars didn't help they actually helped the Eagles quite a bit by putting the ball on the ground, but still, the pressure was there. The pressure was on Lawrence all day. They got to that young man pretty bad. He started kind of boggling the ball around, and it led to 5 Eagles turnovers. And now you have it, man. There you have why the Eagles won on Sunday. Because that's the only way I can figure out that the Eagles, who were down 14-0 in this game at one point, not looking really good either. They were looking somewhat stunned, made the in-game adjustments. They've said, okay, this is not working. That is not working. We got to adjust this. We got to adjust that. And they came out and they handed the Jaguars their ass. And that's what good football teams do. And the Eagles are now 4-0, sitting atop all alone in the NFC East. And how you feeling about it? A lot of people have asked me how I feel about it. People have said, am I going to walk back my comments? What's up, Sean? How are you tonight? A lot of people want to know if I'm ready to admit that I was wrong about the Eagles in 2022. And I'm not. And the answer to that question, of course, is no. I'm not going to say that, even if I am wrong. I've always preferenced everything I've ever said about the Eagles this year by saying I hope I am wrong. But I am not buying my tickets to the Super Bowl after week 4. I am not buying or reserving my spot down on Broad Street after week 4. Not going to happen. But it's a week-to-week league. And this week or last week, the Eagles did what they had to do, as they have done for the last 3 weeks before that. I am up on this team. They are a good team. I will give them that. But they don't hand out the Super Bowl trophy in September. They hand it out in mid-February. Now, the Eagles have and are now facing some adversity, right? We got some injury issues now to talk about. Darius Slay left the game early on. Jordan Mailata left the game, even though he was seen back on the sideline, so he probably will be fine. Then we lost, Driscoll went down, and Sayamalo went down, whatever. Yeah, so we're now a little dinged up along that offensive line. So the adversity is now starting to come out. Whether or not the Eagles handle that adversity well or not, well, we'll see week to week. It is a week-to-week league. And again, in about 10 minutes, my man Alex Clancy will come on, and we're going to talk about some Eagle Cardinals. I am a firm believer that the season will begin here on Sunday. Because let's face it, so just to give you some transparency, my first 4 games for the Eagles this year, I had them at 2-2 at this point. I had losses against the Lions and the Vikings, and then wins against the Commanders and Jaguars. I thought they were going to lose against the Lions because I thought they were going to come out and get a little too arrogant about themselves and smell themselves a little bit. That did not happen, right? It did happen, but they were able to hold on and get that W. And then the Viking game, I think everybody else, to include me, was wrong about that. We all really had the Eagles losing that game. But other than that, I picked these games correctly. I had the Eagles beating the Commanders and I had them beating the Jaguars. So I said 8-9 way back when. And I'm going to hold on to 8-9. I really am. I'm not all, I don't believe yet. I don't. I'm believing. And every week is a different step in the right direction. But I want to see more. I want to see consistency. I want to see when this thing hits, the full kind of like pace of, or when we hit the ground running and we get into the slog fest of October and November when the NFL season really kicks in. That's what I want to see. And hopefully that's the case. Joe Sullivan chimes in. Joe, what's going on? You can see Joe on the Sully Squad from his basement on the couch there on Monday nights here on EOP. It's an interesting program. Go ahead and check it out. It says best Sanders has looked. Yeah, I agree. And it's a contract year, so that's definitely good for old Miles. October is when teams start getting their rhythm. The 4 weeks is getting used to playing. I'll buy that, man. And I'll buy that. And the Eagles did themselves a favor. They won games that they're probably going to need to fall back on in, say, November or December. And that's what you do. That's how you do it. So definitely a lot better than what we did last year or years before that. Getting out on a bad note and trying to kind of clink our way and get us to where we got to be. Oh, 8-9, you're fucking crazy. 14-3 this year. Screenshot it. I'll screenshot it, Ross. And you're entitled to your opinion. But again, don't tell me 13-4 is 14-3 to me sounds a lot more crazier than 8-9. All right, come on. So crazy is a perspective. Crazy is a half glass full, half glass empty type thing. 14-3, I don't see that. I don't see that happen. But yeah, you can call me crazy all you want, man. Crazy like a fox. But no, we'll see. But it's definitely a good start for the Eagles this season. 4-0, looking good. Looking every bit like the team everybody thinks they are. Howie Roseman's looking like the genius that he's apparently always, touted himself as to be. But we got to see. We can't live in the present, or we can't live in the present. We can't live in the past. It's a week-to-week league, and right now the Eagles have to turn the page and head on to next week. And joining me to talk about next week from the Locked On Cardinals, Mr. Alex Clancy. Alex, welcome to the program. Welcome to Philadelphia, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm going to be a little bit more excited about the weather where I'm at for the next 7 months than you, but other than that, I'm good.
Alex, absolutely. Alex, so the Arizona Cardinals, big enigma to me this coming into this season. The Kyler Murray drama in the offseason. And then, of course, the Deandre Hopkins drama in the offseason. A lot of drama in Arizona before the season began. What was the kind of the flavor heading into the training camp this year? Was that the hotbed issues, the Kyler Murray contract, the DeAndre Hopkins suspension? What was the main focus, or was there football to be talked about down in Arizona?
Yeah, it's interesting. It was a mix of a lot of things. The way they were unceremoniously removed from the playoffs by the Rams last year. They didn't clinch a playoff spot on their own last year. The Rams had to do it for them. Daddy Sean McVay had to do it for them when they started 10-2. That alarm was for this interview, by the way. So sorry about that. Going into camp, it was, well, what is Steve Keim going to do? Is Cliff Kingsbury the guy? Is Kyler Murray going to get extended? Those were the big things. And, it was the fan base was kind of split. Like, there were a lot more anti-Kyler people as quarterback of the Cardinals than I expected. And there's a lot more pro-Cliff and Keim people than I expected. Because I think that's complete lunacy to think that that's the way where a head coach who's never won an important game in his life and a GM who, has had some moments, but decides to go to Cancun during the draft instead of paying attention.
Yeah, it's not good optic right there.
Yeah.
That doesn't look well. All right, so we get into the season. The DeAndre Hopkins suspension comes down. How much has that affected? And we'll get into the game by game. We'll talk about how the Cardinals have been this season up to this point. But how much have they missed him up to this point?
A lot. It seems like that was the downfall of last year. That's the excuse for Steve Keim or Cliff Kingsbury last year as well. DeAndre Hopkins went out midway through the season, so you can't expect the offense to be the same, which I agree with. With Hollywood Brown emerging, this offense could legitimately, and I know it sounds crazy, and this is not a homer thought whatsoever. The offense could be at its highest peak, running on all cylinders, to coin the cliche, top 10, top 12 in the NFL. With Hollywood Brown being there, and with Kyler Murray's special, and he hasn't shown it as much this year as we would have hoped, up to this point. But Hollywood Brown, James Conner, Zach Ertz, the offensive line is okay. They've got a lot more pieces than a lot of other teams. So I think that it's going to make a huge, huge difference when he comes back in week 7, rearing to go.
Now, getting into the season, the Cardinals obviously didn't draw a very favorable schedule to begin. No, Chiefs at home, on the road in Vegas, the Rams at home, and then a kind of a cupcake there in Carolina, and then the Eagles at home. Everything now kind of 2-2 to start the year with all the stuff going on. And we'll get into what happened on the field, of course, with between Kyler Murray and Kingsbury here in a second. But is 2-2 a start that is acceptable right now for the Cardinals fans?
Hell yes.
Oh, I give you wait for you to finish.
Hell yes. Like the old man and Big Daddy at the courthouse. Hell yes. I mean, yeah, because you look at it, without DeAndre Hopkins, you didn't know what Hollywood Brown was going to be. The malaise from last year's downfall, and the Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion, they're gonna be in the Super Bowl. I picked that before the season. Like, people forget who Patrick Mahomes is. They think it's Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, and they haven't done it before. And I pick Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes every year until it doesn't happen, until one of them isn't playing anymore. And them getting embarrassed was tough. The Cardinals beat up on Tennessee week 1 of last year by a lot, and Tennessee ended up being the 1 seed in the AFC last year. So it's not a huge determining factor, especially when the starters don't play in the preseason. Week 2 was troubling during the first half, and then you look at Kyler Murray, and it's like, well, you want to know if Kyler Murray's special. Very few quarterbacks in the NFL could do what he did in the second half in overtime. I know it ended up being a defensive score that won the game. And then week 3, the Cardinals played like crap. Cliff Kingsbury's not having this team ready to rock for the first half of games. And they beat a team that, as an institution, the Arizona Cardinals, had not beaten since 2013 in Carolina. Yeah, ended up being a cupcake, but it took them a half to wake up and play football. So the fact that they are leading or tied for the lead in the division in the NFC West with everybody else at 2-2 with how they've played is a beautiful thing.
Now, and you take him any way you can get. Now, let's talk about what happened early in the fourth quarter on a 2nd and goal. The Cardinals were flagged for a delay of game penalty that visibly upset Kyler Murray, and there was an altercation between him and this head coach, Cliff Kingsbury. Both downplayed it after the game. But is there something more to this? Is there a sour relationship between head coach and quarterback right now?
I don't think so. I think one of the storylines with Kyler Murray in the desert is that when he's demonstrative, he's always looking like he's pouting or acting like a baby. Like, a common misconception in our society, and I don't know why it is, quiet people are looked to be as dumb or weird or something like that. And some of the smartest people on the planet are soft-spoken. So when Kyler is demonstrative at all, people make this huge assumption about things. And I'm not saying this was that. This was frustration with a head coach who was brought in to coach a quarterback who has had a tough couple weeks to start the season. And you're right. I mean, they started with some tough opponents. But these things, they're things that have been nuances and motifs since Cliff Kingsbury's come in. Bad false starts, bad timeout calls when you don't get a play in on time, and like false starts on the line, probably because you're checking too late right as the ball's about to be snapped. And you can look at it as Cliff's not getting the call in on time, or Kyler Murray's doing too much of the line, putting the team at risk that way. I tend to err on the side of the player that's won his whole career and not the coach who hasn't. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair necessarily. I'm tough on Cliff, but let's do splitsies on this and then see what happens next time. You know what I mean? Let's do that, where it's like they're both at fault. They both got pissed off in the middle of a game that they should be winning by 4 touchdowns, and let's just call it a day.
So you're sitting here telling me that Cliff Kingsbury's chair is not as hot as a rock in the August sun in the desert.
He got a contract extension before the season started, man. It doesn't kick in until next year.
Man, I know that. I know that feeling. I know being stuck in that nonsense here in Philadelphia. All right,
you're not a Doug guy? Are you not a Doug guy?
Am I not a Doug guy? I was a Doug guy. I was a huge Doug guy. I'm not a Howie guy. Can't stand.
Yeah,
I am not a Howie guy.
Yeah,
and
well, you and I, same with Steve Keim. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Eagles. Eagles are in an interesting situation so far in 2022. I don't know how this thing worked out or why it's like that. We have been on a reunion tour since week 1. It took us to Deuce Staley there against the Lions. And week 2, little Jalen Reagor action with the Vikings. Week 3, our old buddy Carson Wentz with the Washington Commanders. Last week, Dougie P, the coach extraordinaire of the Jaguars. And now next week, a trip to the desert and a visit from our old friend Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, in my opinion, is an all-time Eagle. He will be. His number, I don't know if his number, I'm going to say 86 will be retired at one point. What is the Zach Ertz influence been like in Arizona? Obviously, he's not the player that he was, obviously, through time and years and whatnot, but how good or bad of a presence has he been for this Arizona Cardinal football team?
He's been a calming force. Like all you need to know because I didn't know much about Zach Ertz aside from his fantasy football acumen, selfishly, and the fact that they only used him inside the 20s and then used Dallas Goedert in the red zone, which I didn't really understood. They used it's like the workhorse in between the middle of the field. Even I knew that from thousands of miles away. He's been a calming force. He went, I think it was Thursday Night Football against whoever they played. I can't remember. Was it the Giants? I can't remember who Philly played. The last game of Zach Ertz's career before he got traded. And then he was with the Cardinals that weekend on Sunday on the sideline. And that's all you need to say. Zach Ertz could have taken a week. He didn't have to leave, like crying on in the walk up and then going to his new team 96 hours later. He didn't have to do that. That's Zach Ertz. And the calming force, it's death taxes and him putting up numbers when he gets targets. And he's been a safety blanket for Kyler Murray, especially last year, when Deandre Hopkins went out. And he scored a couple touchdowns this year. He's the same guy. I'm surprised that they let him go. I am surprised that Philly traded him, especially for, what was it, a 6th-round pick? 5th?
Yeah, and Trey Gowan, who I don't even think is with the team anymore. So
they drafted. That was another Steve Keim special in the 6th round of UCF. But and then Hassan Reddick. That's another reunion tour there with the Cardinals. The Cardinals got drafted by him.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So were you surprised that Zach Ertz chose to re-sign this year with the Cardinals? Were you surprised?
I think they gave him a lot more money than other teams would have. He got $18 million guaranteed. I think it's 2 years, even though it's 3. It's 2 years, I think, with the team option. 31 total, $18 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, for an older tight end.
Money when there's 30. So I think, because his wife, they live here. He loves Arizona. The whole thing, this wasn't a 37-year-old Terrell Suggs getting $8 million for a year and then getting cut. He's still he's the second most reliable player on offense for the Cardinals right now.
Yeah. So, absolutely. And unfortunately, vote for the Eagles he just financially didn't make any sense with Dallas Goedert waiting in the wings. Both of them, I mean, Dallas had just signed his contract, and obviously that was the handwriting was on the wall for Zach. But an all-time Eagle, caught the greatest touchdown pass in Eagle history, the one that salted away Super Bowl 52. So he will always be remembered in that way. All right, let's talk about Eagles, Cardinals. Let's get into offense, defense. Alex, I want to know your opinion. When you look at the Eagles as an offense, when you look at the dynamic, the maturation of Jalen Hurts and all the weapons, the A.J. Brown, the Quez Watkins, the Devontae Smith, and the aforementioned Dallas Goedert, what, if anything, can the Arizona Cardinals do on defense to slow down the Philadelphia Eagle offensive attack?
I will say just one thing is I'm so happy for Jalen Hurts. Like it's crazy because, and we joke on podcasts and stuff, he couldn't throw a football his freshman year in Alabama. He was not. He was not. He was not. They used him as a running back who kind of threw the ball sometimes and then went through Lincoln Riley camp and became this thrower, and then he's worked so hard. He's such a good dude. He's so smart. You could see it just beaming off of him, the leadership. And I was like, what the hell are they doing drafting him with Carson Wentz? It didn't make any sense. And then now it's like...
You and me as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could have very well been Jordan Love, not comparing Carson Wentz to Aaron Rodgers, but it could have been that. And I'm so happy for him. What scares me the most is Miles Sanders. It's like, okay, this isn't supposed to be part of this offense. That's why they traded for A.J. Brown. That's why they drafted Devonta Smith. That's why they have Dallas Goedert. This was going to be a pass-first offense with the infusion of, Kenneth Gainwell and the offensive line, and then Jalen Hurts' ability to run the ball like he did last year. But if they can run first, this offense is tailored to any weather. And that's what you need to have if you're going to win a Super Bowl. So it scares the bejesus out of me, but it's going to be the run game more than anything. because Byron Murphy through 4 weeks has looked like a CB1.
Yeah.
Like he has. And it's weird. Like we didn't really know. I thought he was going to go the way of Christian Kirk, 4 years, second round pick. Don't live up, don't get another contract, but he's been very good. And the rushing attack, they can run for 250 yards if they scheme correctly. And that's what worries me the most, especially when he had that massive game, 25 touches and 100 and whatever yards and a touchdown or two last week with Miles Sanders. Like,
yeah, it was definitely what we're seeing here and what I'm seeing from a standpoint, as I mentioned, not a Howie guy. And I'm very public about that. I get, I'm constantly being tossed off Eagles Island for that, but I'm weaseling my way back in. But anyway, not a Howie guy, but what we've seen over the last 4 weeks is Nick Sirianni and that coaching staff doing those in-game adjustments that they were not doing last year, and specifically last week in that monsoon. Doug never changed. He had Trevor Lawrence dropping back, trying to throw the ball throughout the whole game. The Eagles adjusted their game plan to a more attacking, heavy style rush. Not that they can't do that. They did that last season in the back end. The second half, they got him kind of right the ship when Jalen Hurts was struggling.
Right.
But now you factor in a Jalen Hurts that's more mature, that's actually looking at his progressions, and then you factor that rushing attack in with that. It is definitely a lethal combination for the Philadelphia Eagle offensive attack. So when you look at this thing between Eagles offense and Cardinal defense, I mean, what do the Cardinals have to do schematically to try to keep the Eagles out of the end zone?
Make Jalen Hurts throw the football still. I mean, that's what you can do, because, like, we're not far removed from whatever it was 9-6 last year against San Francisco. Like, on 3rd and 8, I want to continue to see him find the receiver and throw the ball and convert first downs. This isn't a slight on an up-and-coming young quarterback who has MVP caliber. He's played on MVP caliber first four weeks for sure. But make him throw the football, because he's been more of a runner than thrower. Not absolutely. I hate when people say that about Kyler Murray, but he's relied more to get out of situations running the ball in his career more than he has throwing. And you need to go with the percentages and make him throw the rock. I mean, it's almost, the lesser of two evils at this point with how efficiently he's thrown the ball.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, when we look at the other side, Kyler Murray and that offensive attack, obviously they're trying to mark time so DeAndre Hopkins can get back in there. And I want him back too. He's on my fantasy team. I got him in the 11th round, and it was a flyer, and I understood that, but he's been sitting on the bench. I've been getting massacred because Alvin Kamara ain't doing nothing for me this year. I need Hopkins back in the lineup. So this is another week towards that point. But from the Cardinal offensive side and the Eagle defense, is there anything that you see that Kyler can take advantage of? Because right now that defensive, that linebacker core that is kind of gone from 0 to 100 this year. How we spent a lot of time kind of addressing that need with you mentioned Hassan Reddick, bringing him in because Kazir White from the Chargers came over. We drafted Nakobe Dean. He's been kind of a slower work in progress for this defense, but the defense is opportunistic. They forced 10 turnovers through 4 games. Another 5 spot or Sunday against the Jaguars. What can Kyler Murray and the rest of the Cardinal defense do or offense do to get up on top of the Eagles?
Start hot. Play the game when the first kickoff happens. They usually wait till the second kickoff. That's what's happening this year. They just kind of punt on the first half of games. I don't understand why. Darius Slay, really quick. Nobody saw this from Darius Slay when they traded for him.
No,
give me a break. So we had half of a good year. They gave him all of Scrooge McDuck's money, and then he becomes this incredible specimen. We're number 2. I think it was the number change. It must have been the number change. But like him, and then they brought in who else did they bring in? Oh, James Bradbury.
James Bradbury.
Like, this was the offseason I was hoping for the Cardinals. Just load up on defense. I know they already had Darius Slay, but load up on defense. And Hassan Reddick, the reclamation project, where the Cardinals couldn't figure out how to use him, blows my mind. But they need to be able to spray the ball around, keep the corners guessing. And I don't know if we're ever going to see Kyler Murray 65-35 running the ball again. I don't know. We haven't seen it yet. It's safer if he doesn't, but It also is a fit for opposing defensive coordinators, regardless of how stout the defense is, to keep them guessing. But I mean, I think the obvious one is don't turn the ball over. Long, sustained drives, the best defense against a good offense is keeping the damn other quarterback on the sideline. And they just can't. they haven't been able to have more than 4 or 5 sustained drives, 6 throughout this entire season so far. But yeah, I mean, that's a hodgepodge, but it's a lot, man. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Now, are you prepared to give me a prediction score here today, Alex, or do you want to wait? Let's hear it. What you got?
I think the defense the Cardinals has played so much better than I expected because they didn't get any sort of additions this offseason. I think the Eagles are going to win. I think it's going to be like 27-17, something like that. I don't think it's going to be a barn burn because the Cardinals defense has played so much better than people expected. They've given up 39 points in the last 11 quarters. I mean, I don't know what more you want from a defense.
Right. Okay.
I think the offense is going to struggle.
Yeah. And who do you think is your player of the game on Sunday?
If Hassan Reddick has 3 sacks, I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to quit because we're seeing that with Isaiah Simmons now. We're going to see it. We're seeing it now where they don't know how to use him. Right. I would probably. I mean, I'll say Miles Sanders. I think he's shown in what is this, his 4th year?
Contract
year, 4th year? Yeah.
4th year.
Yeah. Yep. Shocker. Yeah. That this is like he had the best offseason of his life, and he's finally showing what people thought he could potentially do more of in his rookie year. So yeah, I think it'll be Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, if he can stay healthy and keep the ball off the ground, he's definitely the running back that the Eagles. I mean, he's shown glimpses throughout his 4 years here that he is that guy, but then he's also gone away for long stretches of time too. So, all right, good stuff, Alex. Listen, where can the folks find you out there if they want to listen to your stuff, man?
You can follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. The podcast Locked On Cardinals Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, and I'm on YouTube as well.
All right, Alex, listen, please do not be a stranger. I definitely would love to talk with you some more. Thank you for spending some time with me tonight.
Of course. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, Alex. All right. That was Alex Clancy from the Locked On Cardinals podcast. And, giving me his, I'm surprised he thinks the Cardinals are going to win that bad. Or the Eagles are going to win 27-17. That's absolutely amazing, man. Wow. Sorry about some of these comments, guys. Joe Sullivan said, I guess Cliff Kingsbury is the poor man's Chip Kelly. Yeah, you damn right he is. And then Pat Bernard saying is my man, Matty, Matt Bernard. Hey, Pat, how you been, man? Missed you on the final last time. We need to get you on there, brother. Oh, Ross, thanks for the mention. We get 8 wins from just the trash division. We get 8 wins from the trash division. What is the trash division? At least 6 more from the trash teams in the schedule. Cardinals are the trash, and Murray is too busy with new COVID release to play good football. Yeah, well, let's see. Big Mike, what's up? What's up, man? You say this, but yet you said we're going 8-9 this year. Make it make sense, bro. I am making it make sense, man. Listen, I am not going to sit here and tell you or anybody out there that the Philadelphia Eagles have not played really good football through 4 games. I'm not saying that. But I'm also not going to sit here and tell you that there's a whole big unknown out there and that I still don't believe in this team. And I still don't believe in in what Howie Roseman is doing. I don't. And I can do that. I'm entitled to that. But I preference it always by saying, I hope I'm wrong. I do. Because I'm an Eagles fan. Big time Eagle fan. But I'm jaded. I've been lied to. I've been, bamboozled. I've been hoodwinked far too many times. Okay. But I'm not going to be ignorant to how they're playing. They're 4-0. They're playing well. They're playing really well. But it's a week-to-week league, week-to-week season. So sit here and tell me that I can't sit here and talk supportive of my team, but yet be critical of my team at the same time. I don't know. I mean, why not? Isn't that what fans do? Isn't that what Philadelphia sports fans do? Probably the best out of anybody in the country. Come on, Ross. I mean, cut me some slack, man. I've been down this road too many times, brother. To go down blind again. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope this is not fool's gold. And this is the start of something really great. I do. But I need to see more. I like what I'm seeing. If they can maintain this, that they can keep playing like this, then yes, they will put themselves in a position to win a Super Bowl. And that's what it's all about. And I will love it and be on board with everybody else. Nothing's going to make me change my opinion about Howie Roseman. I still don't like it. I don't like him. But, the proof is in the pudding. You give me a Lombardi trophy, it makes it all go away. It makes it all feel better. But there's still too many unknowns to this team right now. Now, some of those unknowns are being answered. Some of those question marks are coming complete. But we got to give some more time, man. 4 weeks is not enough. You talk to me at the end of November, and they're sitting at what? 9-1? Baby, I'll be talking a whole different tune. But 4-0 at the end of September, it's great. It deserves to be lauded. It's the way you want to start your season, but it's the start of the season. We're not even at the halfway point. We're at the quarter point. They've won the first quarter. Congratulations. What does that trophy look like? What does that trophy look like? I don't know, man. But we'll see. Hey, Dave, what's up? Cowboy Dave checking in. We sweep the NFC East this year. That's a potential. That's a possibility. Last time the season started, so we went to the Super Bowl, 2007. How we built this season. Okay, first of all, the last time they were 4-0, it was in 2004, and they went to the Super Bowl, and they lost. So you're right about the Super Bowl. And Howie has made some decent moves up to this point. I will not discredit that. But we're in week 4. Talk to me in week 14. Week 15. But Ross, you're entitled to your opinion. No apologies necessary. You don't have to. You got the wrong ear. Big deal. Happens to us all. Happens to us all, folks. Listen, Alex Clancy from Locked On Cardinals. Go check him out. Really cool dude. I had a really fun time talking with him. I've really enjoyed my conversations with some of the people around the NFL who have volunteered their time to come on and talk to me here on the show. And hopefully we continue that as we move forward this season. All right, let's change gears, folks. All right, let's get off the Eagles. And of course, if you want to hear my prediction or what I think the Eagles are going to do this week, you have to wait a little bit later on in the week because I'll reveal my prediction on my own podcast. That's right, Talk Philly Sports with Matty B podcast that you can see and hear anywhere. Well, you can't see it, but you can hear it anywhere you get your podcast out there. I host a weekly Eagles pregame show with our main man, Kyle Quinn. When we come in and we talk some Eagles football. So that'll be out later on in the week, and I will give you my prediction at that time. But as for the actually, you know what? Let's keep it in the NFL. Let's do that. Let's talk about week 4, and then let's get into some week 5 action as we get started here. I have one of the worst time slots when it comes to this because I don't have an opportunity to come back on later in the week to do this, and we're still kind of smelling ourselves a little bit from week 4, which we should be. It's Tuesday. But I'm already jumping the gun and both feet in the week 5 because that's how I have to do it, man. I got to take my dime and squeeze the max value out of it, man. So in week 4, I went 10-6 last week. So that's not bad. You know, I mean, I can live with 10-6. My overall for the season now is 33-30. I like to be above 500, but 33-30 is not too good through 4 weeks of picking games this year. It's a little less than what I want to be. I'm going to be at least 10 games over 500 by this point, but it's been a wacky, wonky season, man. The ties, the Tennessee Titans not playing well, just some of the stuff that's been happening out there. The New York Giants winning 3 games, all that stuff has really thrown me for a loop, and so that's why I'm 33-30. But moving on now, we got to get started. Let's turn the page now. Week 5 this week will start in Indianapolis, or I'm sorry, we'll start in the Mile High City in Denver. The Colts and Frank Reich in his very hot seat as it's getting hotter by the week will take his troops still on the road. Matt Ryan will battle against Russell Wilson. I think Indy wins this game. I'm not buying Denver's head coach, man. I think that guy's a tool, man. That guy's a clown. That guy's going to run that team into the ground. So give me Indy. Not that I'm like overly excited about Matt Ryan, but or the Colts, but give me Indy here to win this game. And then on the Sunday, you got the Giants at the Packers. Come on. Aaron Rodgers is figuring himself out. It's definitely been a struggle for him without Devontae Adams. It has been. It's been a struggle. It's been, I think, more of a struggle than we thought it was going to, or at least I thought it was going to be. But I like them over the Giants any day of the week. Pittsburgh against Buffalo. Come on. Buffalo in a will cruise. Chargers against Cleveland. This has got to be hopefully this is a better week for me, man. There's some obvious games here. I like the Chargers here. Bears and Vikings. I'm not even going to spend time talking about these obvious ones, man. I really don't. I can't be bothered. Detroit versus New England. I like New England here, but I think it's going to be a really good game. Dan Campbell, say what you want about him, right? I don't know if Dan Campbell's going to survive the season. I don't. But say what you want, but I would love to play for a coach like him. I don't know if he survives this year. Detroit's just really bad. They're just a really bad football team. But I think this is definitely a closer game than a lot of people are going to give it credit for. Give me New England. I got Seattle against New Orleans. Got to give me that top 5 draft pick, baby. Give me Seattle. Miami and the Jets. Miami, even though the Jets pulled off a miracle by beating the Pittsburgh Steelers last week, still give me the Jets. Give me the Dolphins in this game. Atlanta against Tampa. Yeah, Tom Brady's getting divorced. Yeah, but you know what? Good man. Whatever. Give me Tampa Bay. Maybe it'll clear his mind. And he'll be able to concentrate more on football. Tennessee versus Washington. I think we're seeing the end of Carson Wentz. I do, and I think it takes another step in that direction. This week, give me Tennessee. Houston and Jacksonville. I think Dougie P rebounds. I do, and it's a home game. I don't know. Is it a home game? Did Hurricane Ian mess up that stadium down there? But if it's a home game, I hope it's a home game. I hope they're able to play down there. But give me Jacksonville on that one. 49ers versus the Carolina Panthers. Jimmy Garoppolo, Joe Montana, Steve Young. I don't care who's quarterbacking for the 49ers. They'll beat the Carolina Panthers. Dallas versus the Rams. Give me the Rams, baby. And Cincinnati against Baltimore. I like Baltimore and the Raiders against the Chiefs. As Alex Clancy says, this is the Chiefs at Mahomes. It's not like he's never done it before. Give me the Chiefs, which then leaves us, of course, with the Arizona Cardinals or the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Arizona Cardinals, which I cannot reveal until later on in the week. Sorry. It's a contractual obligation I have with myself. But no, come and check out my podcast if you want to hear that prediction later in the week. And then a great pregame show, actually, with me and Kyle Quinn later in the week. All right, before we move on to the other business at hand, let's talk a little bit about just some pay some bills. Don't forget, if you guys are in the Delco area and you need to get to a bar, you need to go to the only bar in Delco, which is Dolan's Bar and Grill. Go in there. It's ask for some of the great food. The signature sandwich is the gritty, which I hear is an actual sandwich. No one can actually give me one, but I hear it's an actual sandwich. Please check out the gritty and tell me how it is because I really want one. And then Philly Sports Trips. Listen, folks, I don't know how much I can say more about this group here. They are actually, as I heard this from a reliable source, with the Phillies clinching yesterday, they are scrambling now to get something either, I guess, to St. Louis or to Citi Field this coming weekend to support the Phillies as well. But head over to phillysportstrips.com. Check out everything they have to offer. As I mentioned, they're scrambling to get something together for the baseball team as they move into the playoffs. And then don't forget their tailgates every home game at the Gatehouse, a.k.a. the Navy Yard. Head over to phillysportstrips.com and check out all the information they have to offer. And then coming up this weekend, don't forget we got our pre, half, and post-game shows between EOP and the Painted Lines throughout the day, continuing coverage of the Arizona Cardinal and the Eagle game this Sunday. So please check it out on the network. Just chock full of great things. And starting next week, that's right. Look at that sexy beast right there. I will be returning or pivoting, I guess, to another post-game show. Debuting next week, Clear the Ice, the Philadelphia Flyer post-game show. I take off my Phillies hat. Well, actually, I'll be wearing both of them for the first couple of weeks, but I will be doing a Flyers post-game show starting next week. The first game of the Flyers season is October 13th at home against the Devils. I will either be doing that night, or I'll definitely be doing a show that night, but look for us around the 10th or 11th of next week, probably the 10th, of coming on and doing a little bit of a Flyers kind of preview show, talking a little bit about what we expect or what I expect from the Flyers and what you should expect to see from the Flyers this year. So be on the lookout for that coming this fall. Clear the Ice, a Philadelphia Flyer post-game show, hosted by yours truly, Matty B, and hardest working man on EOP. No, I'm not, but but I'm definitely one of them. It's a great network here. It really is. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Ross says Flyers will have less wins than the Eagles this year. I kind of agree with that one. That's the only thing me and you agree with tonight, Ross. That's an interesting statement, man. It makes a lot of sense. All right, let's kind of pivot away from the Eagles now and talk some Phillies. Last night, something happened that hasn't happened in 11 years, and I talked a little bit about it at the top of the show. A generation has gone by since the last time the Phillies were in the postseason. A lifetime for some people. 11 years is a long time. My life is extremely different than it was today, 11 years ago. But then there's a generation of Philly fan out there that never knew what it was like to experience playoff baseball. I mean, that's amazing to me. And now they do. But unfortunately for them, the way the optics of this thing is right now. And not the optics of the way they've clinched. The Phillies were able to clinch on their own accord. They beat the Astros last night 3-0. They didn't have to, scoreboard watch, and then they lost, and then the Brewers lost, and then, oh yeah, we won. Woohoo. No, they came off the field as winners, thus handling their own business. But what I mean by that is the way that the playoffs are going to be set up. The Phillies will be in the wild card round, which is a new round of baseball, new round of playoff baseball. And they will not be at home for any of the first round of the playoffs. It's 3 games at the higher seeds building, right? So obviously you look at this and say, well, then they need to win and move on to the second round. Absolutely. And that is definitely the end state here, right? But as we kind of move into this thing, as we kind of get to the playoffs, I'm I hope they can do it. I want to see them get at least to the second round. I think I would love just to get back to a game in October at the bank. Because it's one thing to say we're in the playoffs, and that's a great thing. But it's totally another thing to go out there on an October night with your rally towel and your sweatshirt or your hoodie or your jacket and get in those stands and not even sit for one pitch because you're standing the entire game because every pitch matters. And the electricity that is Citizen Bank Park during the playoffs. I can't explain it. I can't put it in words. It has to be experienced. And once you experience it, it's like a drug. You want it again and again and again. And there was a problem with attendance this season. Not many people seemed that they cared. And I understand. It's been 11 years. A lot of empty blue chairs were invited to Phillies games this year at the bank. Then we had the debacle with the Mets, where the Mets invaded Citizen Bank Park. Don't blame the Mets fans, folks. Nah, that's on the Phillies fans. And we got embarrassed on our own in our own stadium by the out of town guests. A home game, a home playoff game in Citizen Bank Park ain't nothing like it in the world. And if you're looking to get a baseball fan hooked for life for life for Phillies baseball, get them to a home playoff game at Citizen Bank Park. It'll be, as I said, like a drug. And they'll want more, and they'll quest their entire life to get back there. So, listen, I am thrilled the Phillies are back in the playoffs. And I want them to get through into the first round and beat whoever they play. Now, Mike Laros' revenge time for the Phils beat St. Louis or the Mets. Obviously, Mike, I think you know where I come out on this coin. A lot of people are saying, well, we want the Cardinals because it's a better matchup. And who do we think we are, wanting a team that basically slapped us around all season long? Well, that's exactly why I want the Mets, because they slapped us around all season long, and it's time to get some revenge. And the Mets have fallen from grace. They've fallen off their high horse. They're not going to win the East. They're going to be a wild card team. Now, the Phillies have some work to do. As I mentioned, I haven't been really watching the game. It's on over my shoulder. It was 6-0 when I started the show. I don't know where we're at right now, but not looking good for the Phillies tonight. But I still think we have some baseball to win. And I want them to go after that higher wild card seed because I want the friggin' Mets. I want them bad. Real bad. So bring on the Mets. That's who I want. Mike says he was there in 83, 93, 07. Is that 1883 for the first ever Phillies game? 1893, 1907, 1908. I get you, Mike. No, man, I get you. I get you, brother. There's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like Phillies playoff baseball, either at the vet, the bank, or in Mike's case, Connie Mack or Shibe Park. I know, Mike, man. I'm just busting your balls. Yeah, I know. I got you, man. I gotcha. Oh, man. So anyway, Phillies are back in the playoffs, and I'm feeling good. This is not a complete team. We know that, right? This team is what they are. We need to get things going. We need. I said this last night, I think, to Freddie or Al. I don't know who I said it to. One of them. We can sit here and kind of troubleshoot this team up and down, and there's definitely a lot of areas to troubleshoot. They strike out too much. They absolutely leave too many runners on base. They don't get the key hits. They don't do that. All that, right? Their defense is actually better under Rod Thompson than it was under Joe Girardi, but we can troubleshoot this team up and down. But the bottom line is they made the playoffs, and they were able to get there with the product that they are. And now I don't know what this thing is going to take them to. I don't know how much we can rely on the top three that has really been wildly inconsistent all season long in terms of the batting order. Kyle Schwarber's not a leadoff hitter, and we all know that, but we're not going to make a change. They're not going to do that. Reese Hoskins has disappeared again, hopefully for the final friggin' time in a Phillies uniform. So we don't know where this thing is going to take us. But, and it is what it is. So the best you can do is just understand that we're all, every team in the playoffs is 0-0. They start this thing off clean slate, and it's anyone's game. So maybe finally something does click in the playoffs that hasn't clicked all season, and then we can actually get that runner from second to third to home more times than we can, because we haven't been able to do it all season long. But there's definitely some work needed in the offseason with this team. But it needs to be celebrated because they didn't have to do this. They were down and out in June. 21-29. They fired Joe Girardi. They miraculously came back. Rob Thompson has done a great job with them. And they could have quit. They could have packed it in, but they didn't. They fought hard. And they deserve to be in this position that they're in. And now it's house money, man. It's anyone's game. It's anyone's opportunity. And that's what the Phillies need to look at it as. We can look at the team and what needs to be done to fix it or get it better for next season, in the offseason. But right now, you just got to enjoy it. Hopefully things kind of click. I mean, Kyle Schwarber was brought here. He's got postseason experience. He's got World Series experience, for God's sake. So maybe something goes. I don't know. But, I'm excited. Can't wait for this weekend. This weekend's going to be great. The only thing missing from this weekend is no Penn State football. We got to buy. But other than that, we got Eagles and we got Phillies. We got Eagles and Phillies playoff baseball. I mean, is that not October in a nutshell, folks? Awesome. Nothing like the postseason. Nothing, Mike. Absolutely. Folks, listen, I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank Alex Clancy once again for joining me as he did tonight and talking some Eagles, Cardinals, and giving me his honest opinion. He thinks the Cardinals are going to lose. He actually thinks the Eagles will beat the Cardinals 27-17. He thinks all is well between their franchise quarterback, Kyler Murray, and Cliff Kingsbury. I don't think so. I think you're looking at an entitled, spoiled brat in Kyler Murray, and you're looking at a dead man walking in Cliff Kingsbury. So I think that relationship will get worse before it gets better, and it'll probably cost one of them their job, if not both of them, by the end of the season. So we'll talk more about Eagles, Cardinals, and I want to thank Alex from the Locked On Cardinals for joining me. I want to thank you for joining me. I want to thank all the sponsors. Oh, and I missed one sponsor. God, man, how did I miss him? Oh, man, I'm so sorry. Listen, if things in life are coming at you too fast and you need to step back and you got some workman's comp, motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or criminal law, Dave Cherry is the guy to give a call to, 610-565-0300. Tell Dave that EOP and Matty B sent you. He will take care of you. And that's going to do it for me, folks. It's an honor and a privilege, as always, to come and talk with you every week here on the program. Please continue to listen to EOP and the Painted Lines and Devro Sports and everybody this thing's just growing leaps and bounds every day. Remember the post-game shows. We got a Sixers post-game show now. We got the Flyers post-game show kicking in next week. The Phillies post-game show happening. Our Eagles pre-half and post-game shows and all the other shows that you love here on the network coming at you every day here on EOP. Thank you Thank you, Mike. And I kept the Red Rockets all on under control too. It can be done. Some great stuff that we're always having here on EOP. So it's a privilege. It's an honor to be part of these guys. I'm coming up on 1 year here at EOP. I'll be 1 year in December. So it's been a great year. I've enjoyed it. And as like I said to Al and Freddie last night on the final, I came to Al back in the spring. I said, listen, I want to do a Phillies post game. I want to do a Phillies post game show, and I want to do a Phillies post game. And he's like, you want to? So you're telling me you want to do 162 post game shows every night they play? I'm like, yes, I do. He's like, okay, go do it. Give me an idea. Give me something. We'll sit down and we'll talk it, and we'll do it. And that's all it took. That's how it happened. And that's all that has to happen here. You have an idea here. You bring it to Al, or we bring it together. We sit down with it. We talk it, and then boom. That's how you develop creativity. That's how you develop a great product, by having people that are willing to step out on the ledge for you and take a chance on something that's not been done before, and just to see how it works. Now, obviously, the dedication from the people that are doing the shows and doing the product is key, but there's always an opportunity here, and I want to thank Al for that. And some people are not like that. Some people are like, well, no, this is mine. We're going to do it my way. It's not the way it is here on EOP. It's not. It's a pleasure to be associated with these gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be associated with these men and women that do this here on EOP and Devereaux Sports and the Painted Lions. And I'm glad to be a spoke in the wheel, so to speak, of EOP. So even though I don't get along, I don't agree with half their craziness that they talk, but no, it's always a privilege and an honor, and that's going to do me in. So that's going to do me in. That's going to do me in. All right, it's going to do me for the night, folks. What do they say? That is the news, and I am out of here.